3rd, 2012 at the 100 State Street in the Forum. Item number 1 is call to order and roll call.
Roll call shows all counselors present except for Counselor DeForest.
Number 2 is Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Number 3, special orders of the day and announcements. There are none. Number 4, public hearings. Number 4A.
Public hearing and resolution authorizing a conditional use permit to allow a drive-through use in a C3 community commercial district for Associated Bank located at 602 Henry Avenue. The Plan Commission recommended approval 4-0.
Mrs. Christensen.
Associated Bank is planning to construct a new building at 602 Henry Avenue. They recently divided off a piece of land from the Eclipse Center in order to do that. They have submitted site plans and architecture plans already. The plan is to construct a 3,831 square foot bank with 3 drive-through lanes. The code requires bank teller lanes to have a minimum of 4 stacking spaces, and automated teller machine lanes require a minimum of 3 stacking spaces. They are proposing 2 bank teller lanes, 1 automated teller machine lane on the west side of the building. 4 stacking spaces are provided for each bank teller lane and 3 for the automated teller lane. The vehicles will circulate through the drive-through in a counterclockwise motion to access the drive-through windows on the western side of the building. This proposed bank does require 15 off-street parking spaces, including 1 van accessible space. They are only showing 11 off-street parking spaces, including 1 van accessible space, so they will need to enter into an off-site parking agreement with the neighboring property owner to establish those remaining 4 parking spaces. Plan Commission did hold a public hearing and review this at their last meeting, and they did recommend approval subject to the conditions which are listed in the resolution, which is before you this evening, which is that this conditional use permit authorizes a drive-in use consisting of up to 3 drive-through lanes associated with a bank on the property located at 602 Henry Avenue, that the applicant must submit a copy of the recorded certified survey map to the Planning and Building Services Division before a building permit is issued, that the applicant must obtain an architecture review certificate, certificate of zoning compliance, and building permit before beginning work. And we do anticipate issuing that within the next week because we've already received the plans and they've gone through review. And the applicant shall submit a copy of the off-site parking agreement to the Planning and Building Services Division prior to establishing the proposed use. And then your standard conditions, which say that any major changes have to come back through this public process, but that minor changes may be approved administratively. And Plan Commission did recommend approval.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing for item 4A. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak on item 4A? Second call for persons to come forward and speak on item 4A. Third and final call for persons to come forward and speak under the public hearing for item 4A. Hearing none, I'll close item 4A and entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
You actually don't need a motion to suspend the rules because it's a resolution.
Oh, approval, Move approval, okay. Second?
Second.
Moved by Van de Bogart, second by Levy. Any councilor questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call the issue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 6-0. Item number 5, citizens' participation. We've reached the point on the agenda where persons can come forward and speak to the council about things that may come before us in the future or items of concern. If we cannot take any action on any items that you do bring before us today, but may refer you to members of staff, we prefer that you keep all comments to 3 minutes or less and refrain from public or personal attacks of any kind. I have no sheets indicating that anyone wants to speak before us, so if anyone would like to do so, please feel free to come forward at this time. Second call for any persons to come forward and speak under citizens' participation. Third and final call for persons to come forward and speak under item 5, citizens' participation. Hearing none, I'll close the citizens' participation and move forward to item 6, the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda. Do we have one of the items that we need to remove? Which one is that?
Item B.
Okay, so the consent agenda will consist of items 6A and...
I would make a motion. Mr. President, can we remove item 6B from the consent agenda, please?
Oh, okay, so all right, so we'll go ahead and do it. Thank you for keeping me honest about that. Okay. All right, so we'll be pulling item 6B, so that'll be items 6A and 6C.
Move approval.
Moved by Levy,
Second.
second by Spritzer. All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes 6-0. Item 6B.
An application for annexation of 1035 and 1041 Udell Drive from the town of Beloit.
Mrs. Christensen.
The owners of 1035 and 1041 Udell Drive have submitted petition for annexation, which is included in your packet. Also included in your packet is an annexation plat, which identifies those two lots. Their septic systems have failed, and they would like to connect to the city sewer system. So they have requested to be annexed into the city of Beloit in order to receive sanitary sewer service. Included in your packet is a resolution accepting petition for direct annexation. What this resolution does, we've investigated it to ensure that these are the owners of the property, and we have determined that the petition meets the state law, and this petition also then directs the city clerk to notify the clerk of the town of the Beloit of the resolution of acceptance, and then this would also refer it to Plan Commission where they would review it, and then it would come back to you at a later point in January of next year for action. But right now, you're just accepting the petition and then directing staff to take it to Plan Commission.
Thank you.
I'd move, Mr. President, that we accept the application for annexation of the addresses on Udell Drive contained in 6B.
Second.
Moved by Van Bogart and second by Lupke. Any questions or comments on council's basis? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 6-0. Item 7A.
A proposed ordinance to amend various sections of 17.06 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit pertaining to the regulation of solid waste.
Mrs. Walsh.
Good evening. The changes that were presented are for clarification of the current actions in solid waste and conformity to Wisconsin state law on e-waste. There were 4 key issues in making these changes. First, to comply with Wisconsin Act 50, which amended Wisconsin State Statute 287, banning disposal of electronic waste as solid waste. Second is a clarification of a specific time for an early set-out requested by both the collectors and residents. Third, the city no longer has a contractor for residential yard waste. Residents are free to choose from the 2 vendors that are near the city of Beloit. And fourth, bulky materials. Definition was amended for e-waste and exempting constriction of rugs. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I believe we've got several things in front of us to deal with this on preliminary basis. Shall we handle any of the amendments of the time first?
Mr. President, I would move that in the proposed ordinance that we're looking at, that any of the times related to, that are referred to there as 1 p.m. be changed to 12 noon, making it a consistent time at 12 noon the day before collection rather than the 1 p.m. Easier to remember. It's a request, as I understand, of some of the landlord associations. I think it makes a great deal of sense.
Second.
So the amendment moved by Van Bogart, second by Kincaid. Any other questions or comments on that amendment?
Chris, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Not so much to the amendment, but to the merits. How much is this bringing into the city for people to have early set out like this?
Early collection fee currently approximately $6,000 annually.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Can you give us, Ms. Welch, a little bit of the history of this? As I think I indicated at an earlier meeting, a number of years ago, this was a major issue, and we were talking upwards of thousands of dollars and $20,000, I think was the figure you referred to. So we've got people more lined up to do this in an orderly fashion than it used to be. But can you give us a little of the history?
Correct. Approximately 20 years ago, when the city started recycling, we found, or the councilors found, one of the pet peeves throughout the city was very early set-outs of garbage, including about 700 move-outs a month. Then it became where recycling bins and their light and weight were left out and blowing around the city along with garbage. So the staff really did a concentrated effort to stop the early set-outs. Council established the early set-out fee, and we also started sending letters to people that were early set-outs. And early set-outs could have been for a Friday pickup. They might have been setting the waste out on Saturday. So we wanted to stop that, clean up the city, which we have done. So it has reduced greatly. I think the early set-outs at this point in time are more from people maybe moving into the city that don't realize we have specific rules for when they can set their garbage out, and then with when they need to take the cans and recycling bins back to the house.
So, and had it been up to $20,000 a
Yes.
year at one point, and now it's only $6,000?
Yes. So it's drastically reduced through public education. And actually, the landlords do a really great job. Every January, the office sends out public information for them to give their tenants. They have a responsibility to educate their tenants, which they're doing. So it's working.
Thank you.
Mr. President, if I could be recognized, if I understood the motion made, it was to change all references to 1 p.m. to make it read a reference to noon in the ordinance that's before you in the packet.
Yes.
I would suggest it would be better to entertain a motion to put before the body the version of the ordinance passed out this evening at the pre-meeting, which contains an additional section of the ordinance that's necessary to address that currently says 1 p.m. 1 p.m. is in the existing ordinance. This first started as an effort to change the 24-hour in advance language, make it consistent at 1 p.m. with that, but we have to add that other section, make them both noon to accomplish, I believe, what the council intends to. So.
Sure. So does Mr. Van
So, yeah, so what is it we need to do, Mr. Gasper? I guess
I think
didn't track
a
that.
motion to substitute the version of the ordinance presented to council tonight for the version that's in the packet, and then vote on the adoption of that.
All right. And that's the one we have now that we're discussing contains those changes that I referred to earlier.
It does contain the noon instead of the 1 o'clock.
And it also contains that other subsection you were referring to.
Yes, that's.
Okay.
If whoever seconded will consent, I would withdraw the original motion and make it one that we accept the ordinance that's presented, which does include the noon time rather than the 1.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second on the amendment. Second by Lubke. All in favor of of this amendment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Maybe we have amended the ordinance.
Okay, just to amend it, all right.
Yes.
Now I would move that we waive the reading of the rules and suspend the reading for.
Suspend the rules.
Reading a
okay.
second time. and
Okay, so
I'm getting tied up here.
move to suspend the rules by Van de Bogaert, second by Levy. Any debate or questions on the suspending the rules? Hearing none, all in favor of suspending the rules, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we've moved to suspend the rules. Now we're
President, I move on the merits.
Second.
Spitzer moves on the merits and seconds by Levy. All in favor of moving on the merits, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So we have passed the ordinance 6-0. right, and item 8 would be ordinance or appointments. There are none. Number 9, counselor activities and upcoming events. Mr. Van de Bogart, since you've been speaking so much tonight, we'll let you start.
Well, all kinds of different activities, certainly, but I guess the biggest one is upcoming. Although it's shirt sleeve weather today, we are going to celebrate this coming Friday evening, Holidazzle downtown. I would encourage everyone to, who can, participate, come on down and eat, drink, and be merry, and enjoy the social aspects of your downtown. So that's basically all I would have to say.
Mr. Lukey.
I second what Councilor Van de Bogart said, plus I wish all Beloiters a very happy holiday season, this winter season. That's it.
Councilor Levy.
I would just like to recognize and thank the students in the audience for coming out today. And I take back to your teacher that I think I'm very pleased to see that they're having you come out to this meeting to see how the government works in your local city. So this is where things happen. If you want something to go on in the city for you, this is where you come and let your voice be heard. So I want someone to take it back to the teacher and let them know that I greatly appreciate the assignment that they give you to come out and see what's going on, because you can learn a lot. So thanks for coming out. And fortunately, I think you guys are going to have an early evening this evening. So 10:30, we'll hold them at 10:30 today? All right. That's all.
Mr. Vice President.
I'm also looking forward to Holidazzle, and that's all I have this evening.
And that may make it unanimous. I'll be there.
Okay, good. And I have nothing this evening. So that'll move on to City Manager's presentation, which is, we have none. And finally, item 11A.
A resolution accepting Bradley G. Heyerdahl and Nancy L. Hansen Heyerdahl's offer to purchase lots 293 and 294 of Puff's Fourth Sun Valley in the city of Beloit.
Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you again, Mr. President. The city, about roughly a half a year ago, sold 2 lots out in the area immediately next to the lot subject to the offer before you tonight. That apparently prompted the Heyerdahls, as I understand it, to approach the city asking if they could enter into a similar transaction that their neighbors immediately to the north had entered. And the city was amenable, city staff was amenable to doing that. And what you have in front of you is the resulting proposed purchase agreement, whereby the city would transfer these 2 lots to the Heyerdahls in exchange for the payment of $2,000. That is the same payment amount that the neighbors to the north paid. This whole parcel, right around 20 acres, a little bit more than that, was also made subject to a farm lease not that long ago, approximately a year ago, about the equivalent of 6/10 of an acre, about half of the land being purchased is currently subject to the lease and being cultivated. It's actually been put in winter wheat after the summer crop was removed. We've talked to the Heyerdahls, talked to the farmer, and by the way, the farm lease allows us specifically to sell the land in whole or in parts during the term of the lease. But the Heyerdahls were amenable to adding a clause in the purchase agreement that prohibits them from doing anything to hamper the production of the wheat through early next summer. I forget, I think it's a July 1 date, and winter wheat is normally harvested well before that. The farmer's comfortable with that, and the Heyerdahls are amenable to that. The staff would recommend council approve this, and if there's any additional questions, I'll certainly try to answer them.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Lubke, second by Levy. Any questions or comments?
Are all these lots platted?
Yes.
Yes?
There are some
Okay.
big lots in the center.
But the two subject lots are platted?
Yes.
Okay. And are they,
Platted.
and they're zoned for residential?
Yes.
Okay,
I think, yes.
thank you.
They're all platted and all zone residential.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
Is there anything about the transaction which would influence the future development of these lots as single-family?
And essentially the way we looked at it is it would provide a buffer
Yeah,
that, for those residents, because
sure.
other developments have been more dense in the single family, and that would provide a buffer for those neighbors.
Someday a grandchild might want to build on one of those lots. I wonder how that,
But it was platted decades ago.
yeah,
There's actually, as you saw on the map, there's actually streets dedicated but not
Right.
built. And then it just never.
that'll be a while.
I don't know what happened.
Might be
but-
great-grandchildren.
And there were actually, I think it was R2 on the front on Burton, and then it was R1 in the back, and it was just never developed. I don't know what happened, but those are all on the fringe, on the edge, where one road comes down. And so selling those pieces off, I think, aren't going to harm any future development of the site.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call the matter. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 6-0. So the last item on our agenda is adjournment.
Move approval.
Moved by Levy. Second by Spreitzer. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
23 minutes. What's our record, 21?
17. We are adjourned.
Right on there, yeah.
Kevin, tell the kids they can go.
No, they got to stay.
They got to stay.
They got to stay.